Yep, I'm back, and I'm very disappointed on all of you who participated on my survey. Of course, guys, I was going to do the three things. So finally, you get to see how handsome I am in person, more handsome than the other guy for sure. You're going to see me also doing a speed run from 1800 to 1900 in this video. Even though I'm only going to show some of the games, I didn't want to make this too long. You know, I don't like it. And finally, the last games that got me to 1900, I played them against one of you that I just challenged. So with that said, let's get to it. So here we go. Let's get to it. First game. Here we're doing our King's Indian attack. By the way, guys, you're seeing a match here against this opponent who defeated me in the first game. I'm not showing that game because I lost. Nana. I'm not showing that game because I lost on time. It was not a big deal, but my opponent definitely played better. And now in this one, I'm trying to play fast. I'm trying to be accurate. And of course, I'm leaving a link to this opening exactly the way I played it here. You could see in the description a link to a lesson that the other guy has on it. So h4 thematic, my bishop is on f4. This is the way Bobby Fischer used to play it. This plan with h6, the other guy has it on a lesson for members only. But the idea is to get the pawn to h6, and if they advance, they create weaknesses, and we could try to do checkmate on g7 with our queen. Of course, after removing their dark square bishop. So there, I'm trying to indicate that, and as you can see, we got that. My pawn is on h6. Pivot pawn, very powerful. Now it's just a matter of trying to remove their dark square bishop. And then my queen goes queen d2, queen g5, queen f6, and checkmate. All right, so here we go. Pretty straightforward plan. Yeah, that's another thing. The dark squares are going to be mine. I have pawn on e5, very powerful. Pawn on h6, and my knight wants to get to f6. In the meantime, my opponent should be trying to do something on the queen side, but they just have nothing. There we go. So I've removed everything they could get, but also my queen now could enter to attack their king through the file, the c file, or back to f6 g7, right? So I'm going to eliminate that, and they get nothing. So queen c1, just trying to get to c8. Now bishop f1, trying to activate my last minor piece. And yeah, those two pieces are just trying to defend f6. En passant, we know this. And now I think, yeah, here it was time to pin the knight to the queen. So very comfortable game actually. And pay attention to that e5 square, guys. Any of my knights could go there anytime, right? So the only way to defend their f6 knight is with the king, like king f7, but we have knight f to e5, that's it. King has to leave, and I collect the f6 knight. So this one was pretty straightforward, just using that plan from Bobby Fischer, and we got that game. So that's 1807. Now we're playing a second game. Of course, now it's 1-1, and I'm doing the check Pirc. Those of you who are new, guys, were following this opening plan put together by the guy that I follow on YouTube. Feel free to check out his channel, but just know that he he talks a lot, okay? So be aware of that. All right, so this is a pretty straightforward opening just to get to the middle game. Knight b to d7, knight h3. Now here I could do d5. Whenever they don't control the center that much, I'm always looking out for that d5. Now e takes e4 is possible. Yeah, so there we go. King in the center. We need to open up lines towards that king. And now we gotta be careful. Whatever we do in the center is going to dictate the remaining of the game. All right, they had to take. If they had gone back, we had d4 with a fork. Now here, I'm not concerned if they take on d5 because there's a pin. So we should be fine with that. Don't forget, try to think what would you do if you were the one playing this game, okay? All right, so now we have to be careful. If we let them take on d4 and we take back with the pawn, we get isolated pawn. So I brought the rook over. My pawn structure is healthy. I have 3 versus 2 on the queen side. And now it's just a matter of finishing development. Now, not trading rooks because we simply have the powerful rooks on the double tap already. So we don't want to trade active rooks for passive rooks. And yes, Tato is looking for his way in. The other knight comes in. So what if we just... So I'm thinking here, guys, of simply tripling up on the d file or bringing my bishop back to maybe c8 and then to a6. Now, no, and I know I said it already, but no reason to give my opponent any easy trades or anything like that. So now we gotta be careful. That queen is defending the knight. We got a pass pawn. It's isolated, so I'm not proud of that pawn, but it's a pass pawn at the end of the day. I don't think they want to take on e6 because then we take with our f pawn and that pawn could come and support the d pawn. So of course not. Now, new open file, not the d file anymore, but the c file. So we're going to try to control it. So now you see my pawn is going to go up to e5 and I'm going to have a protected pass pawn. Now, knight g4, the moment they move the f pawn, e3 becomes available and Sato is going for it. Now, don't forget, we got 19 seconds, but we also have the increment. This is plenty of time to do these. Careful with queen c1, they don't care. And now you're going to see a very nice position where we have powerful knight versus not so good bishop. Yeah, there you go. Ideal position for our knight. e3 defended by a pawn. The bishop can never hit the knight. And now we gotta use our rook to help the knight. So knight in their territory, rook on the 7th rank. This is just too much. There we go. That pawn of theirs, my king is close enough, but also it is an isolated pawn, so it's not gonna make it that far. And by the way, Frederick, I'm sorry about this. I know he's from France, but we gotta win this game. Now, guys, this is just too much. Again, 6 seconds, plenty of time. King comes over to help, and they blunder just too much pressure. But even from before, they were already in trouble. All right, so now we go to the okay. So this is 18-16. My opponent did not want to play again, so now we're playing an 1848, and of course we're sticking to our Pirc defense. Don't forget, if this is too quick for you, you can always pause the video, take a look, and then continue. All right, the only reason I took on d4 is because now I want to start putting pressure down the e file. So let's see. Now my rooks are connected, all of my pieces fully developed. Now we just play chess. All right. Nope, doesn't work. We don't have the bishop. Now a6, guys, simply to defend b5, because I'm planning to do c5 to expand on the queen side, but also my bishop from b7 is now hitting the pawn on e4. All right, I think that's a free pawn. Yeah, and we took it. Not to mention d4 is being attacked as well. Now, same thing as in the other game. I have my rooks double tap on the e file. I do not want to trade them for their passive rooks, okay? Now, I don't want to do pawn to d5 because they have 95. Now, this move is a prophylactic move just so that they don't put me in check at any point. Tato to defend. Guys, many of us don't like this kind of moves, but if it's necessary, it's necessary. And in this case, it is just temporary. All right. Now pay attention to that square on f5. The king went to g3. They can never take because Tato is going to go there with a fork. So they have to be very, very careful now. Weak square on f5. None of their pawns could ever defend it. And Tato went from being really passive to being now one of the best pieces on the board. All right, and well, that's a free pawn on f4. I don't remember. No, I didn't take right now. I was focused on rook e2 to do checkmate, but f4 is definitely hanging. Now, guys, you're gonna see. No, I don't think it was. Yeah, here you're gonna see how that queen on a8 went for a check, random check, but it's just not gonna do much. Okay, so now we take because the knight is pinned, so they cannot take us. And now queen g3 is coming. That's the end of the game. And again, very painful how passive and uncoordinated the white pieces are. Yeah, that's it. We take on f3, and the rest is just history. All right, guys, so we got this one, and we made it to 1834 with that game. And now this one, another 1840. We go back to our Pirc defense. Sorry that we're only playing this, but I'm playing 1800 players now. I need to make sure that I play something that I'm comfortable with. I wanted to play the Russian defense sometimes, but I think there's one game, the one after this one, where I actually played the Russian defense. Now this plan, oh, actually this game I remember it. Very quick game. I only put it in here for you to see it because we have talked about this plan so many times. The center is locked. Now we're going to attack on the king side by breaking on f5. I don't care that my g file is open because don't forget my bishop is defending that king. Now discovery on the queen with my rook. And next thing to do is to activate my knights. It's my knight. Okay, what's the bishop gonna do? Of course not. Now look at this. Fork, skewer, everything. Of course, they could do that. Now, give me the bishop. Now, I could take on c2, but I think I was just focused on activating more pieces. Yep, we don't want that pawn, at least not right now. Up a piece, I'm happy to trade pieces, guys. Now, getting my king out of the way is always a plan because my rook from a8 could go to the g file. Now, the idea with that move, king h7, is to activate the rook, bringing it to the g file. Now, we knew that could happen, but queen d7, everything under control. And after rook g8, this is just too much. This is just too much. Now fork, do you see it? Do you see the fork? There you go. Now notice that I took with the queen mainly because I'm winning now by 2 pieces. I mean, I could go for the king and checkmate, but this is just as good attacking, I mean, simplifying the game, and that's it. All right, guys, and in this one, my opponent simply did not want to play anymore. Maybe they got disconnected, who knows? But we got this game, that good of a game, but I wanted to include it anyways. And now this next game allowed me to get to 1850, so halfway to our objective. And then after this one, I remember I had a match against a 2000 player, so I played a game, and I think I defeated them on the first one, and then we played again. Guys, bishop g2. This one was pretty easy, playing the Vienna fianchetto variation. Happy to take on a8. Now, just to get my bishop out of trouble, let me do this in-between move here with a check. And now my knight is trying to get to g6. So this is already, yeah, they had to give us material. And now we are winning basically by a clean rook. Right, simplification, music to my ears. Yeah, that's it. This is just pretty easy. My opponent did the opposite of what they should have. So now we just need to use the rook, because if we don't use it, it's like we don't have it. All right, that's it. Once I take on a7, I got my a pawn ready to march down. They got nothing. Go, 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 go. Now, don't forget to never give your opponent any counterplay. Look, even at the end here, they had tricks. So make sure that pawn is not going to go anywhere. Now, I could do rook h7 check and then advance, but this one is just quiet enough. And that's it. That's it. This one we could win it anyways. My opponent did not show any respect and made us play all the way until the end. So that's it. Now we made it to 1850. The next part you're gonna see, I'm gonna show you part of that match that I told you before against the 2000 player. And there we go. So this one, look, we had already played 3 games by now. I won 2, we had a draw, and then this is the 4th game against this 2000 player. Of course, losing to a lower rated opponent psychologically affects you, so he wanted to prove that he could defeat this 1800 player. And I think he did at some point. So anyhow, we got check Pirc, and we're doing the same thing over and over. We already claimed the center. My queen at this point is going to go to c7, but the same thing. The king is in the center, same thing that we did at the beginning. We're going to do d5 to strike the center. Now, whatever we do here is going to dictate the remaining of the game, but I'm only focused on opening lines, but also look at that pawn on e4. Isolated. Let's just drill on it. Of course, they're looking now for a more aggressive approach, opposite side castling. We know what to do here. Now, being careful, I just don't want to fall for any tactics. And guys, that knight on e5 is thematic. When there's an isolated pawn, you want to block with a knight. There we go. Now I have sufficient defenders on e5, and they can never attack it with the pawn, so I should be fine. And I like my bishop on f6 is also aiming at their king. Okay, so now we take. It's a discovery on their queen, so they shouldn't take our queen. And now that we're off the hook, we go queen b6. If that knight from d4 leaves, then checkmate on b2. So they have to be very careful now. Right now, we're just putting pressure on the d4 knight. So Tato comes in to add more pressure. It is pinned because of the checkmate threat. So here I was just trying to preserve my bishop to continue with the threat, and I'm trying to do rook d1 now, and then check on b2. So my opponent ran out of time, but it was tough to play this, so we made it to 1887, and now I'm looking for one of you guys to play the game. So I just picked the highest rated forker available, and luckily for me, he actually accepted the challenge. So we played, I think, like 2 or 3 very good games. And with that, I finally made it to 1900. All right, so there we go. First game, I'm playing on 1863, so pretty even. And there, I'm trying to distract him. Nah, I'm just kidding. Just letting him know that he's being recorded, guys. So I hope he got the hint. We're playing our Pirc defense. I know my opponent knows this opening, and he's playing the Austrian attack. Now, early advance, which is fine, but we gotta know what to do here. Now, the knight goes to d5, of course, if they take with the f-pawn. And now there's a trick here that I really try to do, which is knight b4, and the idea is that I'm hitting c2. So I'm ready to do queen takes pawn on d4, and then when they take me, I go knight c2. They defend it, so let me undermine the defender of d4. But first, let's castle. I was concerned with bishop f7 and then knight g5. So put the king in safety, and that's always in the air. I think I ended up doing a tactic pretty similar. Yeah, I did. Now I remember. And now knight c2 works because the bishop on c4 is going to be hanging. So now if they take me, I'm going to do queen d4, and then I just collect on c4. All right, so at least they get something for the bishop because they were going to lose it anyways. Now, I knew they could do that and then go to b7 to try to get my rook. But not only am I attacking their rooks as well, but I'm hitting queen d4 with a check. The king could be in trouble. And ultimately, if I wanted to, I could just do knight d7 and my queen defends the rook. So all of that was in the air. Now, no need to get the rook. Let me just keep it simple. We're winning already by 4 points. Let me just keep it simple. All right, so that one was not that good. I could always do 96, everything is defended, or 92. Just too many things, guys. Anything here, I think anything is gonna be good for us. Now, the question is, what would you have done if you had played this game? All right, and we got that one, and then we go to the next one. All right, so here we go. Next game, playing e4 and Scandinavian defense. We know how we deal with this, trying to keep it in the Vienna element. Just g3, bishop g2, and if they take on c3, I'm pre-moving because I know I'm gonna take with the b pawn, guys, and that gives us double pawns, but it also gives us a semi-open file for the rook. And I think in this game, my opponent fell for a tactic, very well-known tactic. And yep, if rook b8, and I think he did rook b8 here, or yeah, right there. We got rook takes b7, decoy, and then fork with the bishop. Yeah, now we just need to eliminate the defender of the rook. So we're pinning the queen, and when they take us, we just get the rook on b8. So we got that one, guys, and I think next game is the last game where I finally made it to 1900. So I think my opponent was just going easy on me. He knew what I was trying to accomplish, and he just allowed me to do those tactics. So finally, Pirc's defense again. I don't think he did the Austrian attack again. No, bishop g5, another aggressive setup. And now we know we could do pawn takes pawn, or we could just draw back to d7. And by the way, now that we made it to 1900, you're going to see that we should start finding opponents who play more positionally instead of being aggressive. Like my opponent right now, he's playing these aggressive setups, the Austrian, the Bern variation, but they could be tricky for white as well. So he's giving me a few pawns, just trying to stay ahead in development. But now with knight b6, I'm hitting d4 twice. They need to do something about it, and I think I could even find a way to trade queens. So, yep, I think that's what I did here. Just eliminating those queens, so my king is not going to be attacked. And knight c6 comes with a tempo, and I'm fully developed at this point. The only thing I'm thinking of next is castling, probably castling queenside at the right time. Now I'm trying to find a way to get rid of that bishop on f6. It's very annoying. Not letting me castle, and g5 is precisely to do that. Now g5 allows me to do rook g6, and honestly, it's not a big deal if I castle or not. I just want my king to be safe. So now that bishop needs to move, and I think I'm just gonna castle afterwards. And there you go, finally castled. Here, I think, yeah, I need to be careful with the d8 because they have the rooks very active. In these games, all of them, I mean, a lot of them, we've seen the rooks active double tap on an open file. So that's a pattern to keep in mind. And here I think my opponent just ran out of time. Guys, this last game not so exciting, but this is what got us to 1903. And again, thank you to my opponent for playing these games with me. And from now on, we should go back to the short videos, just one game at a time. But I wanted to do this, and we quickly jump to 1900. We should see a different kind of different opponents at this level. So let's see if we can keep up. I struggled a lot with the 1700s. Let's see if I can keep up with the 1900s. With that said, Forkers, I will see you on video number 101.